Welcome to the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. Back again, post Thanksgiving, a little MTE hangover for the boys. Stuff in our face with turkey, stuff in our face with basketball. Ah, yes, hoops. We love it. That's what we do. This is our 331st podcast of our podcasting careers. And we're just old pros by now, guys. We like talking college hoops. Hey, we're on YouTube, by the way. If you're listening to this at home, check us out on YouTube, the stream. Subscribe. We'll do some bets bet shows there as well. But first, fellas, how you doing? How was your feast week? Jim, you're in your Packers gear. Packers won during feast week. Good job. How are you?
Yeah, they won on Thanksgiving. They're so back. The playoff push is on. I'm back out of the depths of cheering for a draft pick. Feast week was great. I was just discussing with Pat in the chat that it is exhausting from a handicapping and just tracking results perspective with teams playing back to back and every team playing 3 games in a week. It's a lot, Matthew. I'm kind of thankful for the reprieve of a little bit lighter slate this week. Although today, Wednesday, has quite a few games. Thursday's a little lighter, and we're kind of easing off the gas pedal after a crazy week.
Yeah, I'm kind of with the curmudgeon Scrooges out there. Not a big fan of the onslaught of games during Feast Week. Just a lot of games in weirdly empty gymnasiums at odd times that I can't watch and tune in as much as I'd like to. And then I look at a score and I'm like, that score doesn't make sense. I know it's not going to make sense in a month. So yeah, I'm glad it's behind us, Kai. Let's look forward. Obviously, we'll talk about what happened, but we'll talk about what happened with the big fat asterisk next to all of the results, I think. At least I will. So
yeah, it's a major grind. It's tough giving attention to family and also trying to handicap basketball at the same time. So I'm glad it's over. Had a great time as well, but the games, they're nuts. They're everywhere. Whatever. Okay, so today's show,
you got to be like me and Rothstein, just deprioritize family. That's what we do. We stiff arm them, Heisman them.
I don't believe Rothstein actually does that. So
yeah, true, fair.
He gets in he spars with his neighbor all the time, right? Actually, I kind of believe Rothstein sort of legitimately puts basketball above all priorities, even his own kids.
That's fine. You just don't need to talk about it all the time. It's kind of like, like the vegan. You don't need to let everyone know you're a vegan. We know, buddy. So today, Roots Roundup, news and notes, pretty short one. It's only been 7 days, and it's a basketball season. We'll get some takeaways from Feast Week, Atlantis, the ESPN events, maybe the Maui as well. I think we talked about that a little bit, but maybe a little bit more from there. We saw that, of course, some 3-man thoughts and some game previews, some massive games coming up this weekend, some real heavyweight battles. And then a reminder as well, reviews are at the end of the show now. We do have 2 new reviews. Save those for the end of the show. If you're so inclined, stick around. Before we get started, we're on Twitter. We're on Instagram, 3MW_CBB. That's where you can find us. What we're really pushing, though, the YouTube channel. Please head over there, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. Our hope is to bring the Best Bet Show back daily on this channel. That comes with sponsorship. That comes from getting likes and subscriptions and all that jazz. So that's our goal there. Being transparent, we'd like to bring it back. Right now, it's every Saturday, so check us out this Saturday. Sorry we missed last week with family stuff. Best Bet Show coming up this Saturday. And then the Almanac is still out there. If you're looking for a Christmas gift or a Black Friday, Cyber Monday gift, cbbalmanac.com. It's still useful, even though the season has started. Best preview magazine you can get out there. It's a website, not a magazine, but it's the best prep you can find for college basketball. All right, fellas. I think that's it for the intro. Let's get into Roots Roundup.
Hey, let's do it, Kai. Let's get into Roots Roundup. But before we do, shout out to CBB Analytics, who are helping keep the lights on here over at 3Man Weave LLC.
Indeed, and that is the official name, by the way, of our LLC. CBB Analytics, it is the best 30,000-foot view of the numbers in college hoops. Takes all those analytics and data and goodies that you can find in such sites as KenPom, for example, and Bartorvik, and it slices them and dices them into easy, filterable, reports you can run to really get into the numbers, dive into what you really want to see by team, by player, everything. I'm seeing my volume is low. That's not good, guys. I will turn that up, Ethan. Thanks for the feedback. But regardless, cbbanalytics.com is where you should go for this information. Our promo code is WEAVE. You can check out a subscription, $40 off using that promo code. It's useful for sports bettors. It's useful for college basketball fans. It's useful for everybody. Go check it out.
That's right. Get those beautiful shot charts pulled up. They know what they're doing over there at CVB Analytics. All right. Key headline: realignment never stops. Of course, Delaware is headed to Conference USA. Matt, there were plenty of jokes made about this, but the illustrious Delaware-New Mexico State rivalry is going to be
Huge.
played out in front of massive crowds. But, CUSA, it's always kind of had a wide geographic footprint, so I'm not totally bothered by this. The bigger front is you FCS bettors seeing Delaware vanish from your table, and they're going up to FBS.
Yeah, good program, Kai. We'll miss them from our FCS slate. It just I think Conference USA was sort of ahead of the curve. They embraced the nationwide coast to coast sort of branding before anyone else did. I guess the American Athletic sort of did the same thing too. So a shout to them for them being innovators, pioneers, trendsetters in that regard, and sticking true to their knit. Proud of them.
Yep, big time. I saw Mr. Jeff Borzello, a Delaware grad, kind of excited about this move, especially the getting to Division I FBS football. But
fighting Joe Flacco.
Basketball,
yes.
I mean,
yes.
The Coastal Athletic Association is all kinds of ins and outs. They prepared for this by adding Campbell and NCA&T, et cetera, et cetera. And Hampton, those teams just need to get up to competitive snuff. They're not quite there yet in the CAA. Coaching news: Billy Gillespie, head coach of Tarleton State. You may remember Billy the Clyde as coach of Kentucky, I think probably the worst coach in Kentucky basketball history. I don't know if that's 100% sure, but it feels like a solid claim. He didn't last very long. He's going to be away from the team indefinitely from Tarleton State, health related here. Not a huge Billy Clyde fan, but I hope he ends up fine from this. And I hope things don't work out, Kai, for basketball reasons at Tarleton State. That would be my hope for Mr. Gillespie.
Agreed. Yeah, hope he feels better soon. I think it isn't a health issue, so feel better soon, Billy Clyde.
And then Fran Dunphy got his 600th win. He's now at LaSalle, but he's been at a couple other schools, Penn and Temple, most notably. That might actually be it. But shout out to Mr. Dunphy, Kai, a very, very feisty. That's the word I'm looking for. As an underdog, LaSalle, don't want to bet against them.
Yep, LaSalle picked last in the A10. They will not finish last in the A10. That's all I know.
Yeah, I mean, that was very clearly like, I guess I'll pick them last, but it's just who's going to have the injury issues that's actually going to finish last. That's really the question mark there.
Jimmy started at Penn in 97, went to Temple in 2007, and then took a 3-year hiatus, and then second year at LaSalle. Mr. Philadelphia.
Yeah, he should get to do a year at Villanova, at Drexel, and who am I not thinking of? Was the other 5?
That's schools?
It.
St. Joe's.
There are 6.
Oh,
St.
Joe's.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
There's 6 really 5 schools now because they've added Drexel. All right, moving on. Recruiting news. Actually nothing. I even looked this week. Nothing worth noting. So that's exciting. Transfer waivers. Musa Cisse has apparently been approved to play at Ole Miss. He warmed up last night, Tuesday night, in full uniform. Did not actually play against NC State. I think I talked to an NC State guy, an Ole Miss guy. I go back and forth, and he thinks he probably just wasn't part of the game plan. They didn't know, so they wanted to hold him out, and I think he's going to be good to go. They've got Memphis this weekend, so a little revenge game there. Matthew, I know you love that angle, guys going against their old teams and old coaches.
I did. I do. I still do, actually. Cisse is just an absolute hammer inside. To think that they could have him and Jamarian Sharp patrolling the paint. It's like 2 redwood trees out there in the NorCal forest of sorts. So very excited to see what the Rebs cook up as they go forward.
Feels like a big under edition for Ole Miss, just theoretically. I don't know. We'll see if that.
Hey, they can shoot this year too, apparently. So who knows?
Sometimes.
Yeah, they go up and down. All right. Next up, suspensions, dismissals, all this. Vanderbilt. Lee Dort has not. I think he's only played 1 game this year because of injury. Well, then he got arrested for charges of aggravated assault. Vandy's just been off to a terrible start with Tyron Lawrence and Van Allen Lubin missing games due to injuries. And as they come back, Ezra Mannion and Colin Smith go out. They get just demolished by Arizona State and Las Vegas. It looks bleak for Vandy right now. Kai, I would imagine Stackhouse probably just wants to be somewhere else, like coaching pros where he doesn't have to recruit, etc.
He should be coaching in the pros. If he truly is a great X's and O's guy, as everybody claims, he probably has a better attitude for the pros. He was obviously an all-star, great player. Yeah, he needs to probably move on.
believe he won a championship in the G League with like Raptors
Yeah, I think
95
you're right.
or whatever
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. So that's kind of the pedigree he has as a coach, and maybe he'll end up back there. Other random news and notes: Creighton is retiring Dougie McBucket's jersey on December 20th. Known for big time scoring at Creighton, and also known for a picture with Matt outside of a bar in Chicago.
Benchmark's
How about
finest,
that,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves the Old Town proper corridor. We saw him out there a couple times during his Bulls stint. I also think he was here when he was training for the combine going into. So we kind of saw Doug grow up before our eyes, guys. The latter glory years of his college tenure. We kind of helped usher him in the Chicago scene. It's kind of a big boy city kind. Not everyone's ready for those bright lights, but we helped guide him, shepherd him, and so I think he owes a lot of his success to us. So you're welcome, I guess, Doug. Congrats, but also you're welcome.
Matt, name his famous high school teammate.
Harrison Barnes, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there it is.
Name
Good
high
team.
school.
Good team.
Yeah, really good team.
Should have been a devil. Glad he wasn't.
Oof. Wow. Shade thrown by Matthew. Stat of the week here from Jared Burson on Twitter. Not a Reddit stat of the week. How about this? BYU is the first team to start 6-0 against 6 Division I teams. I think there's a time limit on this. I didn't actually look up what the starting from might have been like 2000, but 6-0 against 6 D1 teams and make 10+ threes in every game. The Cougars can shoot, man. And we talked about it on our best shooting list pod episode this offseason, but boy, they're delivering on that potential. And BYU is all the way up to, I think, 9th in Ken Palm right now.
Yeah, we have a little tiny section on that includes BYU later in the show. I'm not sure I buy top 10, but definitely a good team.
Noah Waterman.
10th, excuse me.
Noah Waterman. We said he mattered in 2019. He matters now. He finally officially matters. Nice player.
Can't believe he is still around. One of those guys that just showed up and then disappeared and resurfaced. And once they resurface, you're like, what? How does he still exist? But yeah, BYU, very good team, very good shooting team. We'll see how that translates into Big 12 play coming up in about a month. All right, guys, let's move to the next section. That is it for Roots Roundup. Kai, kicking it back to you, Mr. Hostess with the mostest.
Yes, sir. Feast Week takeaways, fellas. Non-Maui edition. You've heard the Maui takeaways from every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the media. We're the three-man weave. We'll go for the other tournaments here. So the Atlantis tournament was a good one. Watched over the holiday. Villanova was the champion. None of us picked Villanova to win. Jim, I believe, picked Memphis, and they made the championship. So kudos to Jim. And Matt and I went with a little under-the-radar pick with Michigan. That didn't work out. Memphis handled them pretty easily in the first game. I know we lost a Northern Iowa bet against North Carolina. The Panthers were up at halftime, ended up losing to the Tar Heels in spectacular fashion. Then they played better, of course, last 2 games. But Matt, your first takeaways, overall the field, what do you think about Atlantis teams?
Can I be honest? It was a relatively underwhelming display of basketball. Like, I thought Villanova emerged victorious because they were the only team that looked like a bunch of adults out there. A lot of low basketball IQ was played, Jim. I don't know if you agree with that, but maybe I'm being overly harsh. I just, talent
sounds like
for
you
sure.
watched a lot of Arkansas. That's
a lot of Arkansas. I mean, I've watched plenty of Memphis too. I mean, we like Memphis, but their IQ is certainly not in the 125 or higher range there. Even Texas Tech. No, they're not. And Texas Tech had some questionable. Even the Northern Iowa Kai or Purple Panthers. They coughed up the rock a lot too. And UNC, well, whatever. So they look good, but again, they had some moments where it was like, what do we do? So anyway, Villanova, congratulations. I think you impressed us, but I have some continuing question marks about you. That's all I said.
Yeah, that seems fair. I think Arkansas was the biggest red flag for me because they needed, was it double overtime to beat Stanford, and then Stanford didn't win another game. And then Arkansas was relatively handled the next 2 games. Tremont Mark gets hurt. It sounds like he's going to be okay, which is great long term, but might be out tonight against Duke. It's a weird team has not meshed at all like I thought they might. That really concerns me. In Texas Tech, I talked them up all preseason. I got to hand up a little bit. I think they looked pretty underwhelming there. Did not deserve really to win that Northern Iowa game. I didn't think. And then, strong performance in the 5th place game, but I think 5th place game is maybe where teams are potentially least interested, maybe even.
Stanford was not interested. Stanford was already halfway off the
was
was already off the bus there. They're off the plane. That was bad.
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually still I'm impressed with Nova because I think the defense is better than I thought it was going to be. They're super duper switchable. And just the way they can attack mismatches on offense, like posting Dixon or posting Justin Moore or moving the ball around and getting the open three for Tyler Burton. Like the upside's just so high with that roster. And it seems like with the amount of veterans they have, Kai, that maybe Neptune just needs to get out of the way. I'll make a Bucks comparison here. It seems like every time the Bucks do something smart, it comes out after the game. It's like the players told AJ Griffin to do this. Let's move Brook Lopez further back in drop coverage. I almost think like the Villanova, just let the players run the team, let the inmates run the asylum there, Kyle, and they're probably going to be a Sweet 16 team.
I agree with this take, Jim, as well as North Carolina. Both teams, I came away with, these are both really talented rosters. I still don't think the coaching is very good. That can be very frustrating to bet on or bet against because you really don't know what you're going to get from either team on a nightly basis. A little more confident in Villanova than I am in North Carolina, but still I have that fear with Neptune. Maybe he can change my mind over the next couple games. ESPN events, Invitational. How about Florida Atlantic, the Owls? Hoot, hoot, fellas.
Mm-hmm.
They come back from that head-scratching loss to Bryant. Oh, no at-large bid in the cards, and they win the whole darn thing. They smoke Texas A&M. They beat Butler. They beat Virginia Tech in the championship. Just a really impressive effort. Other notes, Jim, Texas A&M, despite missing two of their best players for the second half, come back down 21 to Iowa State, a team we thought was really good and a team I have a thought on a little bit later, and beat them. Very surprising to me. Thoughts on those teams and any other teams in this event?
Yeah, I'll holster my Cyclones, either optimism, pessimism, somewhere in between. I won't give that away. I don't want to step on the toes of your thought. Yeah, I'm really impressed with Texas A&M. Without Coleman and without Radford, they got a lot from Anderson Garcia, which I did not expect to see. Manny Obaseki looked pretty good, the former 5-star recruit, and then Matt Wade Taylor. I mean, All-American right there.
Yep.
I will let you take the waxing poetic about Florida Atlantic because I know they are your boys. But also, Virginia Tech pretty solid until they ran into the wagon that was the Owls in the second half. So I came away from this event probably feeling about the same for most teams. Maybe even a little more encouraged by Texas A&M's depth, considering what they lost and how they still fought after that.
I agree. I felt encouraged by A&M. Like, I think I knew what I knew about most of these teams, to be honest. But the A&M stuff and Wade Taylor, I was worried I went along with the momentum of he's an All-American just because like the production he put up last year. Like I saw him play last year. I didn't really watch him a ton, but like he really asserted himself as just like, against FAU, he was a one-man band down the stretch when they were shorthanded. They needed every bucket that he gave them. So yeah, I feel better about that. I hope Boots and Coleman, the former Duke transfer. Man, it'd be nice if Duke had that guy this year. Holy cow. Henry Coleman, if they'll have those two back, I feel good about them being like a top of the totem pole SEC team for sure. And the SEC's top is good, as we know now with Kentucky. My goodness.
Texas A&M the fifth ranked offense in the country. I don't know if I buy that.
I'm going to pump the brakes there, but I think their defense has more upside than the metrics show too. So I think there's some balance coming there.
Their defense looks better when they play teams that can't shoot, and we saw that all last year.
SEC, it'll work though. I guess Kentucky might be the kryptonite this year. Sorry, Kai, go ahead.
I'm a little more convinced on Butler being solid after this tournament.
Yeah,
I think I had Boise overrated. They're not quite as good as I thought they were, which is weird. I still think they have a really good roster, and Leon Rice is a good coach, but they didn't do it for me in this tournament.
Can I ask you guys a quick aside on Butler? Rank Butler, Xavier, and Providence right now in terms of who you feel the best about.
I have no idea.
I have Xavier third of that group. I think I'm going Butler first over
Providence 1, Butler 2, Xavier 3. Yeah.
I'd go Providence, Xavier, Butler, but I don't really feel good about that either.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Plenty more evidence to be uncovered on those.
Still have no idea what to do with VCU. I have no clue what that team is. Good luck figuring them out.
The one thing I did figure out, Penn State's defense sucks.
Bad defense.
It's horrible. Raekwon Mitchell gets attacked
that was
every
a weird
time
game.
He's on the floor.
That game made no sense to me in general.
Their backup center is Leo O'Boyle, a 6'7" Lafayette transfer who is
a wing.
Yeah, they get just demolished inside, can't keep people in front, and then can't outscore people with Kanye Clary hurt. So, man, Penn State exhibit number 1008 of Jim overhyping a first-year coach.
The Rady Children's Invitational featured 4 teams. Oklahoma, man, they look good. They beat Iowa, and they beat USC. They're for real. I'm crediting a lot Porter Moser there. I'm crediting a lot of the guys like Owe and Uzan getting better and actually taking that leap from the prior season. And then Iowa beat Seton Hall in the 3rd place game. That's pretty much what I expected, Matthew. You know, I didn't really learn much about the other 3 teams. I think I just confirmed my is OU good inkling, and the answer is yes, they are.
Yes, they are good, well coached. Again, vintage Porter Moser, right? Like, not a guy that's going to come out and set the world on fire. He's not getting 5-star recruits. He's just getting what he can. He's cobbling together what he can, and he's coaching them up, and he's outperforming expectations. But man, he's really this team looked really good though in this field. Again, I don't want to overreact. That's the kind of theme of today's podcast, but a little more star power there, Jim, with our guy name pronunciation incoming.
Owe? Yeah, he had the game-winning tip in or put back that was really, really impressive. And Siena point guards up transferring continue to be a pretty solid trend after Jalen Pickett. Javen McCollum looks really, really good. One more, like, be careful not to buy into every preseason hype coach quote. Like, Luke Northweather was supposed to be a huge breakout training camp guy for Oklahoma. He played 3 total minutes in 2 games, and they're still good. Like, it's so, you know, not every guy that gets a little preseason hype is actually good, and they don't need to be, because Oklahoma's legit. The Big 12 is ridiculous. Like, every team we thought maybe was bottom 3, like, look how good BYU is. Look how good Oklahoma is. I think it's Oklahoma State and UCF now sitting in the bottom.
Yeah. Preseason NIT, the old 4-headed dragon with 3 normal-looking dragons and 1 dragon that is doing a goofy, dumb face. That would be Baylor, Florida, Pitt, and the sad dragon, Oregon State. Baylor took this one over Florida. Baylor's really good. That's why I think Florida is a good team. I think Baylor is a great team right now, and we shouldn't be surprised that Scott Drew, he had a bit of a slump year last year, Jim, we'll call it, but they look fully back. Big 12 contenders, of course, per usual.
Just keep shooting 49% from 3
that
against
helps.
D1 competition, and Baylor's going to be unstoppable. But they get really good shots. And Matt, it's a lot because your boy Ray J, I hit it first. That's what you call him, right?
That's
Ray
right.
J Dennis.
He did.
He has translated up very well. The like post ISO game, kind of backing guys down or just driving in smaller defenders, has drawn secondary defenders a lot, and that gets open shots. And Yves Missy, the freshman big man, just gives them even more dynamism in the front court. Wings have all been really, really good. Yeah, Baylor's legit.
Yeah, Ray J actually looked kind of off in that Baylor game a little. I'm sorry, and that Auburn game a little bit, but he really bounced back, and that's a complete team.
He was best player on the floor against Florida for sure.
Yeah, so and I mean Florida impressed me too. I know people are tired of hearing us sing praises of Todd Golden and the Gators, but I think the Gators are for real this year with Zion pulling in the mix.
The Emerald Coast Classic, Ohio State. Wow. Welcome back, Ohio State. People left them for dead, I suppose, last season after they went through their Big Ten lull. The defense was bad, but they smoked Alabama, and they beat Santa Clara, a team who also was impressive, beating Oregon, albeit an injured Oregon team, but still, it's Santa Clara. Impressive work there. Matt, the Buckeyes, where do you rank them in the Big Ten? Are they 3rd for you behind Michigan State, Purdue? Are they 2? What are they?
I don't know. I can't discuss Big Ten rankings at this time. There's not enough evidence, and the evidence that I have is all muddled and tainted and tarnished. So I don't know, Jim. I think they're probably top 5 at this point. We like this team coming in. Worried about can they guard? I still don't know if they can guard, but they've guarded so far. Very impressive Alabama win. I think that's more of an indictment on Alabama, though, than a showering of praise for Ohio State. That's kind of my takeaway with that one, but still impressive. Yeah.
No credit given to Ohio State?
No, a partial credit.
Alabama
Partial
gives up
spread.
1.2 points per possession to every team with a pulse. Ohio State, Oregon, Clemson have all scored 1.2 points per possession. I think that defense is bad. Ohio State took advantage of it. I love Bruce Thornton. I'm going to beat the drum for him here. Averaging 17, 2, and 5. He's got 6 turnovers total in 6 games. So an assist to turnover ratio of almost 5-1, shooting 41% from 3, high usage. There's a chance they have the best backcourt in the Big Ten with him and Gale, because Roddy Gale's been really, really good too. And with AJ Hogarth getting benched at Michigan State, maybe Illinois hasn't totally solved their point guard situation alongside Shannon. And Purdue's backcourt's terrific, but Ohio State might actually have the best one.
Matt, no more thoughts. I'll move on.
Oh yeah, go.
Vegas showdown, last one. BYU, the team we talked about at the top of the last part of Roots Roundup, rather. They beat NC State. They took down Arizona State as well. Not the best foursome here with Arizona State and Vandy kind of bringing up the rear. Both those teams look like train wrecks. Matt, how good's NC State? I don't know. They just got crushed to Ole Miss. I don't think they're that great. So BYU, I guess, congratulations for beating the mediocre Power 5 squads.
Yeah, BYU is good. You're right. They're not probably top 10 good, but they're awesome. Glad they took care of their business. And I'm Mr. Mark Pope. I've been made fun of for crowning him as one of the nation's elite coaches. I'm glad he's kind of starting to back up that sentiment there. So continue to churn. Hey, Big 12, the gauntlet's waiting, right? Like we'll find out very soon how real it is. And it certainly helps that they have a great home court advantage out there. And in Provo, Kai, where we both do very well.
We both do very well there. Yes.
BYU is 6-0 against the spread, covering by an average 14 points a game. That's obviously inflated by a couple of the mega blowouts, but they beat NC State by 9 despite Fus Traore playing like 1 minute and getting hurt. Played 6 minutes. Atiki Aliatiki was suspended. So there's your top two guys to cover DJ Burns. Oh, let's dust off Ali Khalifa and he'll play a great floor game, be competent enough defensively. He's been a little bit hurt, hasn't been practicing. Like this team is deep. They have all kinds of weapons. Maybe not like the dynamic point guard you want, but the system doesn't really demand it. So yeah, I think they're like going to have staying power. They're going to be legit all year.
Agreed. Thank you, fellas, for the takeaways. We've saw that is next. We've saw that. A very short section here. Congrats to Tyler Thomas of Hofstra. The first 40-point game of the year, at least against D1 competition. I'm not sure we checked everything. But 40 points against High Point, that'll do, kid. That'll do. I believe I saw some stat that he's like the 5th Hofstra guard to put up 40 in a game in the last like 10 years. Like they've had a lot of good guards come through that program. So congrats to Thomas.
Coached by a good one too. Maddie's wait, Matt, did you get him right in the Jeopardy round? The guys that won a
Speedy Claxton?
I think you got Speedy.
Oh no, I got Henderson. I don't think I got Speedy.
Okay. I couldn't remember if you got Speedy. But yeah, because the guys that have the Russ question, guys that won a championship as a player and a coach at the school, Speedy's done that. And yeah, Tyler Thomas can fill it up. Former Kai, what if he was still on Sacred Heart, this team? Whew.
Yeah, would be very good.
Yeah.
Quick hitters for teams that lost by games. Oakland took down Xavier. I watched that game. Oakland's good, man. They are legit. They are for real, not fake. Their front court was better than Xavier's yesterday. Was a little bit nervous. They were getting in 2 days ago in heavy foul trouble, but they still pulled it out. So Oakland, fantastic start. The best ATS team in the country, or tied for the best right now. Xavier, a little worried. Sticking in the Big East, Northern Illinois beat DePaul.
Quick Oakland note.
Yes.
If you're listening right now or have already listened, check out the Oakland men's basketball Twitter account. They've got like a run this town video because they're playing Detroit tonight and like the little city rivalry in the horizon. It got me kind of pumped. I was excited about that.
A little nervous about that. Just take care of business, boys. What do you say, Golden Grizz? Big East, DePaul. Ugh. They lose their third bye game of the year. Northern Illinois, who's not bad, but then they just got handled by Northwestern 1 day later in the same city. So DePaul, not a good look. Matthew, your Demons, thoughts? You're muted.
He's muted. I'm trying to who's worse, DePaul or Georgetown? That's like kind of
DePaul's
race to the
worse.
bottom there. Yeah, you're right.
And I don't think I said that preseason.
Sorry, when I was trying to, I want to talk DePaul coaching search as soon as possible. I know Trilly's already gotten it going on the airwaves on Twitter. I want to build that steam of momentum. It's always fun. Like every time we have a new changing of the guard in DePaul basketball, then it's always just kind of a fun, quick flash in the pan, breath of fresh air into the program. So the more we can talk about who could be the next head basketball coach there, the better it is for us as Blue Demon faithful, Kai. It's Chicago's hometown team playing possessed, searching possessed, Jim, as they'll do this offseason.
No one seems to want the job, which I guess I get, but man, there's potential, obviously.
Luke Yaklich, a name that comes to mind.
If UIC
Hometown
continues to
hero,
play well.
UIC has been blazing hot. Yeah,
Can they open the checkbook for Porter Moser? Bring him back to the shop.
Bring him back home. Oh, I would love that.
If he gets fired,
we would love that. Yeah, he ain't getting fired. He's awesome this year. He's gonna.
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying he'd get fired. He wanted Notre Dame last year.
I don't think he'd leave Oklahoma.
Yeah, he did want Notre Dame. That's true.
I think he'd consider it coming back to.
We've seen him at so many watering holes. He misses this city. He misses this great city. He wants to come back. Get him out of Norman.
If it's a pay raise, it would. But I'm sure Oklahoma can open the checkbook. So,
McNeese, they beat UAB at UAB. Holy crap! McNeese is very, very good. UAB had a horrible shooting day, so maybe like a little asterisk here, but still, they beat him by 20 at UAB. So McNeese, Will Wade has not even been on the sidelines yet, and they are currently top 100 in KenPom. Wow,
they're up like 260 spots from last year.
Amazing.
It's ridiculous. And like the Florida transfer CJ Felder hasn't played. Utah transfer Mike Saunders hasn't played. They're sitting out with waivers. Javon Garcia was out this game. It's ridiculous the talent he's got there, and boy, they have a real chance to run the table in the Southland.
I would be surprised if they didn't at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Stetson, they beat UCF at UCF. Stetson just has this ability, man. They can hit shots. UCF, worst team in the Big 12.
Them or Oklahoma State, right? I just haven't been impressed by the old
Oklahoma State, West Virginia.
West Virginia.
UCF's better than both. I'll say UCF's better than both. How about that?
I think Oklahoma State's better than UCF. I'll say that.
Yeah,
they didn't have Bryce Thompson for.
Yeah, Thompson's been out. You're right. That's true. Fair.
Yeah, didn't have Javon Small for the loss to Abilene Christian. Okay, fine.
All right, we saw that. Good job. Way to go, us. 3-man thoughts is where we're headed. But first, home field apparel. That's right. It's another ad. Jim, he's wearing the shirt, Fight for Mizzou. Actually, this hoodie is from Home Field Apparel as well. Another Mizzou goodie.
Yeah, we got a big win last night, Kai, so we got a rep.
We did get a big win. How about Mizzou beating Pitt? We're not even going to talk about that, but hooray. Homefieldapparel.com. Go there, shop your school. They probably have it. They have hundreds of colleges at this point. They make the best collegiate apparel in the world. Comfy hoodies, shirts, even have some hats, some joggers for some teams, some bomber jackets for some teams. It's a perfect time for the holidays coming up. Go to homefieldapparel.com, shop your school, tweet at them, Homefield APPARL. Tell them to get your school on some shirts. They don't have it already. And of course, use our promo code 3MW for 15% off at checkout. That is Homefield. Wear one for the team. We're going to start with Jim on 3-man thoughts. Take it away.
All right, let's do it. I'm starting with Clemson because I watched them at Alabama last night, and I am just super impressed with them. They're undefeated. I think PJ Hall is a legitimate first-team All-American right now. Maybe not actually on there, but he's really close. He's super productive, and the only thing that stopped him a little bit last night was foul trouble. But their backcourt is terrific. Their size around Joe Girard so that he doesn't get constantly picked on defensively. Dylan Hunter, Chase Hunter, they're both good. There's a point where Josh Beadle, who was like their 4th or 5th guard, had a hesitation move on the baseline, went reverse layup, and Jay Williams even got excited. The guy who hates college basketball. It's like, whoa, that was a pro move. Wow, how about that? And it's like, all right, if a guy this far down Clemson's bench can do that, that's really impressive. They lit up that Alabama defense. Matt, could you see them being like Miami last year and sneaking their way to the ACC title just based on, Duke's kind of up and downs and UNC's coaching, et cetera? Could Clemson do that?
Yeah, maybe. Sure. I still don't think their guards are they don't wow me as much as I maybe liked. And if you're making those Miami comparisons, now Joe Girard has made every shot he's taken basically this year. And I think Chase Hunter is very, very underrated, as our boy T.O. would tell you. Been tracking the guy for a while. The key to this team is PJ Hall being healthy for the first time, in 5 years. I mean, it's been documented. It's like he's always hurt every offseason. He's always kind of load managing throughout the year. He's finally healthy, and when he's healthy, he's just a different player. Defensively, he's an absolute, he's a menace around the rim. He cleans up every miss. He can step away, shoot it. He sets the table. It just makes everyone's life easier. I'm not all the way sold as maybe some are on Clemson. I think they're awesome. I don't think they're an ACC contender yet, Kai. I can't get there. I think it's still UNC's and Duke's and Virginia's to lose still.
I think they're a contender. This team started 10-1 last year in the ACC. I think they could get there. I'm disappointed that I haven't profited off them because this is a team that I was really high on coming into the year, and I just haven't pulled the trigger on any of their games. But they are terrific. Like Jim said, I'm impressed with the Tigers so far. Matthew, do you want to do your first thought here, buddy?
Yeah, I'll start on a positive note. So we talked about FAU, Florida Atlantic. FAU is fine. That's just my thought. They're fine, guys. I know they lost to Bryant. Let's not overreact to that. And if you did, well, you look like an idiot after how good they looked in the tournament down there in their backyard in Disney. They've had some injuries. They're still very deep. I just like how this team has sort of responded so quickly to that and put that behind them, because I think everyone was just ready to pile on the FAU fraudulent bandwagon. And I think now they've kind of been pushed to the back burner for the time being. They're going to lose some games this year, right? They're not playing in the Conference US. I mean, Conference USA was awesome, but they're not. But it's a better league, obviously. The Americans stepping up. We saw how talented Memphis was. I still think FAU is the favorite in that league. The gap is substantially closer than maybe I thought probably 3 weeks ago. But those, Martin getting healthier, Nelly being dynamic, the play of Gaffney at the point, and Vlad's been awesome. Like sometimes Vlad bothers me. Like I get mad that he misses layups. So Vlad's just been unequivocally fantastic on both ends for this team. And the Liberty matchup living this week, I think he's a pretty big X factor there. But anyway, I love this team. I think they are still as good as I thought they were, even though the loss to Bryant would certainly, would be a good counterpoint to that. And the fact that they did get some teams shorthanded in that MTE, I still firmly believe in my preseason priors. Hoot, go Owls. That's all I have.
Yeah,
you kind of made the case to me, Matt, that like, I think this is going to be Nick Boyd's team this year. And then
I know he didn't play,
and they went 3-0. So yeah, I think that's rather impressive.
After that Q4 loss, it was like, oh no, at large, we're done. And then they rattled off 3 Q1 wins back to back. So
their defense is what's underrated. They harass the crap out of Padula and Couture. I think they have that gear. Like they can do it on that end too.
Agreed. FAU. Good job. My first thought, I have 2 Ken Palm thoughts on this episode. We will start with an observation about the top 4. The top 4 teams right now are currently all in the top 10 offensively and defensively in the country. This is rare, fellas, and obviously it's very early in the season, but Purdue, Houston, UConn, and Arizona, all of which have looked incredible, juggernauts, title contenders, what have you, top 10 offense, top 10 defense. Only UConn last year finished in the top 10 on offense and defense. Back in 2022, it was Gonzaga and Houston. Back in 2021, it was Houston again, in addition to Michigan and Illinois. Those 2 teams, we know how that ended. Illinois, I believe, second round, right? Loyola was the squad that knocked him out. And then back in 2020, we unfortunately didn't get the tournament. Kansas was top 10 on both sides. So it's a good indication of being a title contender, a Final Four team, if you're in top 10 on both sides. In my opinion, all 4 of these teams are title contenders. I have a future on Arizona. I might add a future on the other squads as well. Purdue was my title pick preseason. Jim, I'm a believer. Where are the flaws?
Well, I'm gonna make you tell me what's the worst unit of these 4 teams. So 8 units, an offense and a defense for each. What's the one weak link out of all 4 of those teams, Kai? Give it to me.
Purdue defense.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't even know that's right. I don't know that's right.
3 smallish guards. Yeah, maybe. But Edie racing in the paint. Yeah. I mean, certainly not Houston's defense. It's not Arizona's
Houston's offense. Houston's offense is my answer, Jim. It's a good question though. I like the premise.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Tell me why, Matt. Tell me why on Houston's offense.
I still just, the shot making doesn't always, and I know they got Cryer there and they've sort of kind of addressed that and done too. I think they have a tendency to go through some
image, man. Come on.
And Sharper's been good. I know. Okay. I don't know. I retract.
Actually, per KenPom, Matt, you'd be right. They are 10th offensively.
Okay.
That's the lowest unit.
Boom. Bangs gavel.
4 teams. Yeah.
Jim, this system has inherently lower ceiling, I think. That's the only reason why I say. Again, it's a nitpick, but I don't know. Tough. Good premise, though. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they've ranked 7, 10, 11, 10 last 4 years.
They're always good offense, I know, because, I know. It just doesn't always look good sometimes on the big stages. People think they can't score. It's like, no, they still score efficiently. They just don't play fast.
Exactly. Okay, short thought. Jim, your turn.
I'm going feel good too, and it's called the Keontae Corner. And this is the feel-good story, literal feel-good stories of the entire sport, named after Keontae Johnson last year, coming back from his heart issue and becoming a monster for Kansas State. I got 4 of them here, and I'm sure that I'm missing some people. This is not shade to anybody else. These are just the 4 like amazing stories that have gotten onto my radar. First is Miles Rice for Washington State, averaging 17, 3 and 3 basically for Wazoo after missing last year with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Sat out an entire year, comes back and is like the best guard on the team, even better than Joe Yesufu. He's been a huge table setter for a team that is actually, I think, has some sneaky upside because of how good Rice is. We thought they might be a guard away, and boom, here he is. Tyon Grant Foster, Kai and Matt love that name. We're very high on him back in his Kansas days. He's averaging 22 points a game, 5 rebounds. His heart stopped during a game at DePaul. They were running off the court for halftime, and he, I think, flatlined. Like, they literally had to bring him back to life. I was told he would never play again. And Jeff Goodman wrote a great story about him in the Messenger. It's awesome that he's come all the way back. He's a top scorer in the country for Grand Canyon, one of the best mid-majors, and it's basically made it, they can wait on Jovan Blackshear's return from an ACL because they've got Grant Foster going nuts. The other 2, Deshaun Jackson, Garrett Johnson, Jackson at Charlotte. He came back from what was believed to be a heart problem last year. I don't think it's ever been fully reported. He was averaging 9.5 and a block for them, and I think he's going to come on even more because he's super talented. Missed all of last year. Then Garrett Johnson, George Washington, initially committed to Princeton, then found out he had a tumor in his hip. It was benign at least, but he had to go through 9 rounds of chemotherapy. He's back averaging 15 and 7 for the Revolutionaries, boys. George Washington Revolutionaries.
I get used to that.
Yeah, I watched the home game. I watched the home game and saw it in the baseline out of bounds. I was like, oh yeah, that's who they are now. But awesome to see that. And then Avery Wilson at Southeastern Louisiana, I just wanted to call out because he hasn't played in 4 seasons. Last game was in March of 2019 for BC. I believe he had a knee injury, a sit-out year, and maybe a couple other injuries that kept him out. Pretty cool that he's back on the floor. I mean, I think he's like 26 years old, but missing 4 seasons and then playing is a good story no matter how you slice it.
Indeed. Well said, Jimbo. Miles Rice is a baller. He's like game breaker style, MFer type of player. So good for him. Glad he's out there. Matthew, thought?
Yeah, I'll go to a more pessimistic note here. It's called beating up the beat reporters. And I think we've made this rant prior years. Just I'll make it real quick here. I'm going to go on a long soapbox, but inspired by an incident last night where a very key player for Indiana State was not playing. He wasn't even at the arena. Probably comes out later. He was at a funeral. So thoughts and prayers with his family. The general premise of this thought is, and Kai and Jim know, like, I don't have many takes on general serious societal issues. My one passionate take is like local journalism is dying and I hate it. I'm the only person who still subscribes to like local newspapers, and I get emails every day about, I get spammed, and I take it on the chin because this democracy, this world needs local beats out there, Kai, telling the stories. And so when you narrow that scope, you zoom into college basketball. If you're a beat reporter for a team, if you are a self-proclaimed insider of that team, I don't like it when it requires fans on Twitter to tell you that the player that you're covering is not even at the, like, you have one job to do your job well. I'm out here on the front lines battling for the salvation of your industry. Give me at least something to go on. Give me at least mediocre meets expectations type of competence. It's one example. I'm singling out one guy. I'm not going to say his name. It happens everywhere. And it's just like this whole, and I know with injuries, there's the HIPAA stuff that's sometimes a detractor and a bear. I get that. Do the best you can, like with what you have.
If a guy's not warming up, that should be noticed. If he's a starter,
and he's
just not there.
Right?
Yeah. I compared it to a punt returner. Your first job when you get out there is you count the other 10 guys on the field. Make sure your team has the right amount of guys, not too many. Don't get a penalty that gives up a first down. That should be your first job in the arena. Are all the guys here? Are they all practicing? Are they not wearing street clothes? Boom, done. Okay. Simple, easy. I agree, Matt. I'm glad you got it.
And it's not coming. I know people are going to say, "Oh, well, you're betting on the game." No, well, first of all, I don't care. Injuries don't matter in betting, as we know, guys. They don't matter. I don't care. I've stopped caring about injuries. I don't really care if a guy's not there. They don't matter. But point being, I just don't like when it's a very, it's a specialist type of task and a job. I just need you to do it. I don't need you to crush it. Just do it.
Well,
Come on,
the
be
fact of
better.
the matter is betting is really real. It does matter. It is important. That's why the NFL makes teams report injuries. I think it is actually a huge deal for that realm.
Yeah, it's a good
But
point. No, yeah,
the issue is these guys don't get paid very much. They're not covering solely college basketball. They might not even be college basketball fans in general. So it's not a full effort, and I can't blame them. Some guys are different. Some guys are great beat reporters, but
Yep, I
some
agree.
guys just do not know that much about their college basketball team because they're a small team. They're not getting paid for it or that much, and it falls through the cracks. But yes, if you're covering a team and a guy misses a game, please ask about the injury to the coach and write something in the article. So many takeaway recaps are like everything about this team.
So generic, so genericized.
Star
Like,
player
I
was
know.
out in the box score. It's like,
Yeah,
what are we
like worst
doing?
case,
What are we
coach
doing?
wouldn't provide a comment, but you at least have
Right.
to ask.
Yes.
You have to ask. You try. That's your job. Exactly. And Kai, the point about how sometimes they're generalist, I know they're not getting paid. That's the whole thing is I'm trying to help. Obviously, I'm not going to do anything. Trying to help lift up the tide of a dying industry. You have to provide at least some leverage, some proof that your work is worth its while. That's my whole point. And I actually was going to make a whole list of beat reporters that I love, and there's many of them out there. Wichita State guy, for example, Taylor
Eldridge.
Eldridge.
Awesome.
Grammar,
Mark,
Right,
Mark
amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Does a great job. Sienna.
Great.
Company.
So maybe
There
I'll
are
do that
some
next episode
awesome
to
ones. Yeah.
throw some
Positivity
some
into the
Yeah, exactly. The FAU's got a bunch of dudes. Kevin Felder does a great job. Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing. We love you guys. And if you're not one of those guys, aspire to be them. Thanks, Gavel. Next thought.
Thank you. Okay, back to KenPom. Risers and fallers. We like to do this every now and then. Check in on which teams have traveled the farthest up the standings and dropped the farthest from KenPom's preseason rankings. The names here for people that bet will not be surprising. But I think we want to take this in a different direction a little bit. Just think in terms of, is it sustainable? Does it make sense these teams are playing well, playing poorly? So here we go. Biggest risers from the preseason by an adjusted efficiency margin perspective. Evansville, UIC, represent Missouri Valley, Oakland, Princeton, and Prairie View A&M are the biggest risers. I talked about Oakland already, Matt. They are for real. I feel bad I have not watched UIC yet in detail, and I talked to Yaklich in the offseason. They're on my list. We should go to a game. Princeton, I totally buy.
Just down the road,
Evansville,
baby.
I talked to Ragland too. I can't believe how good they are this season. And Prairie View's been kind of under my radar. Thoughts on those teams? Who's for real?
So Kai, I talked to Campy, Oakland, and Byron Smith Prairie View. So we both I take blame for two of these misses, and you should shoulder two misses yourself. Talk to the head coach. We should have a good beat on the team. We all missed. And honestly, I'll be honest, both of the coaches missed too. Greg Campy was at a presser after they lost an exhibition game and said, "We're not good at all right now. We're just going to try and get to Detroit Mercy for our first conference game and kind of see what we have." It's like we're going to have to change a bunch of stuff. And sure enough, they play two Big Ten teams to the wire, and then they actually go into Xavier and win. And they've been awesome in every other game since then, essentially. I have a thought on Princeton adjacent. That team's been great. And in Prairie View, we all started to sleep on Byron Smith after his former lieutenant, Landon Bussey, was kind of outperforming him at Elkhorn. But I think Byron Smith is back to his old tricks too. So yeah, good little highlight here, Kai.
Is Princeton better than Yale? That's my question to you guys.
Yeah, I'm worried
they're
they
about
are
the same. I have
Okay.
more
I think they're
faith
about
in
the same.
Princeton right now, kind of. I mean, they've been more
Yeah,
impressive.
Yale's kind of been running all over the country. They had like that
Yeah.
long West Coast road trip that
Right.
maybe sapped them a little bit. But yeah, coming into the year is like, all right, it's Yale and everybody else in the Ivy, but Princeton is absolutely on that echelon now.
Jim, I was going to say Princeton versus Liberty. That was my my toss up to you guys.
Liberty for me.
I'll take Liberty, but yeah, it's tough.
Made you think that. It made you think. That's all I had. That's all I was trying to do.
So same concept, top risers, but Power Six. So focusing on the big boys that people might care about a little bit more. Butler, BYU, Oklahoma, Washington State, and Houston are the top five risers. And Jim, as you pointed out, Houston already started off as number 3, and they've
It's ridiculous.
been one of the biggest risers. It's incredible. Yeah. Thoughts?
They're destroying teams. And I think maybe there was some hesitance with the amount. They lose like 3 or 4 starters every year. And you looked at this team, you thought maybe they don't have the big center like Josh Carlton that they can feature inside. And it doesn't matter. They've got a ton of length inside, and this is the best backcourt that they've had. And that includes DeJon Jarreau and Quentin Grimes and Sasser going to a Final Four. I think this backcourt's even better with Shed, Cryer, Dunn, Sharp. It's deep. So yeah, I'm very in on Houston, Oklahoma, Butler. We've already sang some praises of. Love BYU. And then Washington State. I think, like you said, with Rice emerging there and a lot of the size they have. Matt, is this the year they actually win some of the close games that they need to make the dance? Because they always lose those close ones that they really need.
Gatorade's been overdue. They're finally due. I mean, just you're right. The story of Rice coming in. It's funny because Jackson was there, right? Washington State. So you mentioned Jim Jackson now goes across country to Charlotte. They've had a ton of bad luck, man. Injuries and losing close games.
They had 2 guys sit out all of last year with medical conditions. Like that's brutal.
The Washington State one, I have just a little bit. They haven't beaten anybody, like at all.
Fair.
So I'm just a little bit, just like okay, we'll see what happens. They beat Utah Tech by 40, hence the rise there.
They beat some solid teams by a crap ton of points.
Yes,
December 16th. So
yeah.
Fallers, guys, biggest fallers. Siena, horrible. Buffalo, Vanderbilt, Georgia Southern, and Stanford. I mean, Siena is a bottom 5 team. I can't believe how far this program's fallen. Even healthy.
I mean, they got their 2 key guards back for a big rivalry crosstown game against Albany, and they rolled over and quit. Like completely quit. The article afterwards was like, we didn't know how hard we'd have to try. Like they're super young.
They're young.
But like
they're young. Yep.
Age doesn't prevent effort. And that game, they had no effort in the second half. They gave like 58 points to Albany in a half. Kevin Sweeney, childhood Siena fan, was like, they made Albany look like the Globetrotters. Like it was ridiculous. So yeah, they've got some work to do. We can maybe talk about it in the power conference ones, but like, how does Stanford keep pass last year? And now they've already tumbled down this year. Like just egregious.
I don't really even understand the Stanford thing. I guess, yeah.
I know. I find myself feeling
Iowa. That's kind of their downfall.
Yeah.
Santa Clara. Yeah.
I find myself kind of I haven't like fully like been disgusted by Stanford when I've seen them play. So like I still think they're still like kind of sneaky talented. It's good. Like I don't know, they look kind of good. I watched some of the Eastern Washington game. Obviously, that was their only good game. They played well. I don't know. I'm not all the way out on Stanford.
Going to overtime with Arkansas doesn't even. I don't know. It's not even that good. Arkansas's bad. They've been falling too. So that's
speaking of the biggest Power 6 fallers: Vanderbilt, Stanford, Arkansas. That's a shocker. If you just go back to preseason thoughts, LSU. Which
is surprising to me because I thought they were good in their tournament.
They were really good in the tournament. Losing to Syracuse by $1 billion didn't help. And then Maryland and Nicholls State too. Maryland is the other faller. They've kind of bounced back a bit though. I have more faith in them. I mean, we talked about Vanderbilt, Matt. They're done. They're awful. Stanford, horrible coach. Arkansas though, I don't know. Is it bringing on L. Ellis, who's not a winner, and Tremont Mark, who likes to shoot every time he touches the ball, and the backcourt's not working out? What are your thoughts?
You got to be careful, Kai, because the Arkansas fan base is prickly. They are not nice, and
you see the product on the floor, Arkansas fans.
I do.
What's your theory?
Because they know Eric March Musselman does it when it matters, and so none of this discussion matters until March. And so I'm going to hold my equity until then. That's all I'll say about that. Mark's actually been pretty good.
Wait,
so I'm going to defend. Yeah, go.
Eric Marshallman or Eric Muscle March?
I like Eric Muscle March. That's pretty good.
Okay, Eric Muscle March. That's what we're going with.
It doesn't matter. Like the pieces are like they have dudes, right? I try to limit my dudes reference to 2 times a podcast. Right, two a podcast. It's been certainly worn out its welcome in the airwaves, but they have the dudes for sure. And I still think your boy, former Mizzou castaway
pro
Trevon Brazil is just an absolute freak of a talent, and I think he actually plays the right way sometimes. Which this team really has no compass right now. No compass.
At some point, they will try defensively and getting back on defense. Their transition defense is pathetic right now. UNC, even off made baskets, was getting a dunk or a layup right down the other end. So yeah, they need to figure that out.
All right, Jim, hit us. Last thought.
My final thought is called the Men of the Mountain. And it is a hat tip to the Mountain West, which has now been so far this year the best non-power league based on Ken Palm's rankings. Last year, they were even slightly better than the ACC in the final rankings. They've had 2 straight years, where 4 teams made the NCAA tournament. It seems like they could get there again. Colorado State obviously got that huge win over Creighton. that's going to make beating Colorado State a big win for anybody else. Like, just kind of has that waterfall effect through the league. Nevada's undefeated still. They're top 50 in experience, continuity, and height. Like, this is a big veteran team. They've got depth too. San Diego State obviously is, back after making the title game last year. Jaden Ledee is number 2 Ken Pom Player of the Year, averaging 24 and 10. Darian Trammell hasn't even looked right yet, and they've still been very good. New Mexico's been pretty darn solid despite injuries. Utah State's rolling in Danny Sprinkle's first year. Mountain West looks really good. I think they could probably get 4 again, Matthew. 4 bids to the dance. What do you think?
Yeah, league's good. I mean, the problem is that, the Boise thing is what's weird, right? I think, like, as Kai mentioned, we sort of put them in that class. I was hoping they'd be vying for it, but it sounds like it's just more of a 4 to 5 team race at this point.
They're not out of it. They don't have a bad loss, and they beat San Francisco.
No, I agree.
VCU.
I agree.
They haven't played a non-top 100 team yet.
Yeah.
I have not been impressed with what I've seen. And I put my guy Tyson Degenhardt on an absolute pedestal. And I know he's the masked man right now, looks like Batman out there. Maybe it's blurring his vision, not quite getting the same reads, not making the shots. But I'd like to see them, Jim, in this mix to feel good about a 4 bid Mountain West.
They just have no dynamic guard play. Roddy Anderson coming over as a 63 O rating. He's been useless. Like, if that's your replacement for Marcus Shaver, that is a mondo downgrade. They just don't really have anybody that creates in the backcourt. Max Rice can shoot it, but they need creators.
I think they get 4. Yeah. It's a 4 bid league for me.
Donovan Dent's my guy. I was laughed at for saying he was
poetic on him.
Saying he was as good as House or Mashburn. He is. Like, I know what I've seen. He is a blur in the open court. He plays like good shifty change in pace. He can make shots. He's actually like a leader out there. I love him. Absolute star in the making. I think if he stays next year, probably won't. Hope he does. He's player of the year of the conference next season.
Yeah, last 3 games, 25 assists, 7 turnovers. He's
playing a flawless 4 game and also being an alpha scorer. So he's a good player.
All right, Matt, final thought from you. Your guys, part 3.
My guys, part 3, a continuing chapter throughout the season where we highlight unforeseen studs in the world of college basketball. We're going to do a little mid-major dive to 2 of my favorites. A guy last night who got a revenge against a program where he wanted to play but was not actually recruited to. Robbie Avila ends up going to Indiana State. Jordan Majeski did a good spotlight on the story. If you have not seen a picture of Robbie Avila or have seen him play, he's the guy who walks into your local Y with kind of the doughy body and the rec specs, and he's sort of like making a mockery of Philip Seymour Hoffman and Along Came Polly. But then he comes in and just gives you perpetual buckets. He's throwing behind the back dimes to darting cutters. He's pulling threes out of nowhere. He's kind of an effective defender too. He's an awesome player, and he's at the center of everything that Indiana State's doing. Indiana State looks like the best team in the Valley this year, which is like an awesome league again. So check him out if you haven't. He's great. And the guy I think has like real professional upside is Xavier Lee, Canadian superstar, continuing the tradition of them catching up to the U.S. in basketball, which is terrifying, but it's like, holy cow, their talent pipeline is bananas good. He was on the Princeton team last year that, sorry, Mizzou fans, did what they did to you guys. And then, Arizona fans, he didn't play because he got buried down the stretch when it mattered most. He was like, pretty talented freshman. And then he blows up this summer at the U19 for Canada. And he got some buzz in the offseason stuff. But I don't think anyone really knew he's going to be like an absolute star. But if you watch him play, I mean, he's got it all. I mean, he's the most talented player in the Ivy League that's got a kid named Malik Mack, who's been phenomenal too for Harvard.
Yep.
Like the Ivy is well coached, and now it's getting like real talent too. It's kind of terrifying. So playing the Ivy out of conference too, it's like you're playing against teams you don't know how to prepare for. The coaches are better than you, and they actually have talent now. So Xavier Lee, Princeton, shouts to Mike Cohen. Mike Cohen kind of illuminated him, Jim, to us when he sidebarred with us. Like, holy cow, this guy's like an absolute star. So check him out. Great player. Silky smooth, crafty, does it all.
Princeton has like 5 awesome players, but that's all they need. They play slow. They don't really need much of a bench. They just cut you into pieces with that group. Kyle, add my guy because, and it's sort of off what somebody said in the chat, but Reed Shepherd for Kentucky. I know we're like late to the party here. Mark Titus has been on him since preseason, so have several other people, but man, is he ridiculously good. I tweeted last night, I don't think I've ever seen him miss a jumper. but he like blocks 3-point shots and picks people's pocket constantly. I think Calipari said he's just stunned at how good his hands are. And Kentucky is just legitimately a blast to watch with how they play. It's awesome. It's so far from like the kind of dinosaur ball that they've had in the past. For all the hot seat talk he got kind of this offseason, I think the fact that they're good, the fact they're good and fun is like, okay, he's completely back in the good graces. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I do like that we're talking Kentucky real quick. I like to give the chat some credit here. When they ask questions, I want to address. So yes, Kentucky will Reed Shepherd shoot 87% true shooting percentage the entire year? I'm not sure.
Yes. No, I think he'll go over 90. That's my guess.
My thoughts are on Kentucky, very, very good SEC title contender. Will they be as good when Bradshaw comes back? Will these big guys kind of throw off the funness? I don't know. That's a concern I have. I don't think they're a 43% three-point shooting team the entire season, but they are definitely good. Also, I had to mute the thread about the Field of 68 Almanac not ranking Kentucky's backcourt in the top 20 in the country.
Oh, yeah.
This was done by one guy, Rob Doster. He rated the backcourts. It is not the Almanac contingent. It's not us. It was an egregious miss. Stop commenting on it. I muted it. You can keep commenting on it. Whatever. Egregious miss. Yes.
One other little thing to note here is Miami was outside the top 35 in KenPom before this game because their defense is terrible, and they got lit up by a very, very awesome offense here by Kentucky. Do you guys see KenPom's tweet about this?
No.
He tweeted last night, like, it's nice if you're a media darling because when you get pulverized, they just credit the other team instead of reevaluating your opinion of you. It's like, maybe Miami is not that good. Like they're sitting 46th in advanced analytics, and instead of they were ranked number 8 going into the game last night.
Never the 8th best team in the
country. Kai and Ken sit in a tree, KISSING over Miami not being good. You know what? They're kind of, I think they're onto something, Jim. I sort of believe in I put Miami and Arkansas in this sort of different group where I hate being, tournament. Yeah, I hate that. It's such an easy thing, but I kind of just believe it at this point, and I'm not going to be burned by saying the otherwise. But I think for now, and I think in actuality, Kai and Ken are correct. So cheers to Kai and Ken.
Yeah, and not to take it too much away from Kentucky, but you beat a team that ranks outside the top 40. That's where they were last year pre-tourney. That's where they were 2 years ago. That's what Miami is. They're not a top 10 team. They just aren't. They never were. They never will be. With the current roster.
Well, they could be someday.
With the current roster. They're not.
They can't guard anybody.
Final thought for me, Iowa State, real quick. Are we rethinking Iowa State? I was in, on this team through 4 blowouts, albeit against very bad competition. But I was also in on Otzelberger being a fantastic coach in Iowa State's history. The MTE was concerning. VCU got up on them in a matchup that should have been hell for the Rams. Iowa State matched up very well on paper with them, and VCU should have won that game. Virginia Tech handled Iowa State, almost equally confusing and concerning. And then we mentioned Texas A&M, without 2 of their best players, came back from 21 points down and beat the Clones. They certainly lack shooting, at least right now, Matt, or they're not hitting shots. And the free throw line has been a huge issue, not hitting free throws or threes. Bad combination, still fantastic defense, but the offense appears to still be kind of a who knows sort of thing. Are you concerned about Iowa State?
No, they are who I thought. I thought I'm on a board bet here with Iowa State, sort of lower. No, am I not? It was they're young. They're young. They've been old the last 2 years, right? Last 2 years, they come out, they kill people like, oh wow, Iowa State. They go to the MTE, they look awesome, like, oh wow, Iowa State, right? And then they kind of get in the Big 12 lulls, and then they win some big games, and then they lose some close ones. The offense does the ugly stuff, and they get in the tournament, and the offense goes completely bankrupt, right? It's been the same narrative the last 2 years. This year, it's just different because they actually have some offensive upside. So I think there's potential long run in upside ceiling that could pan out in March in the tournament. But early on, you have to. There's a transaction, a trade-off there, I should say, defensively and with consistency when you have young players. They're not going to be as consistent early on. That's just my take there.
They have a lot of guys who are only good on one side of the ball. That's their problem. Like when they want to be good offensively, they play Pavletsky and Momkilovic together, and then their defense really suffers. And Otzelberger doesn't like that. And Lipsy hit a couple threes early in the season, but he struggled to make shots in the MTE. I just don't think they have a little bit of what Mizzou's problem is, where they have no idea what their right rotations are against good teams yet.
Yeah, that's a good comment. Yep.
So like against bottom 50 teams, they could just beat the pulp out of you and beat you to a pulp, and it didn't matter. But they have to find balance in their rotation somehow.
The pieces are there, good coach. Like Mizzou, pieces are there, I think, good coach. Maybe Mizzou's pieces aren't as exciting. Actually, no, I like Mizzou's pieces. I stand corrected. They're both fine. Both are fine. You're fine. Iowa State's fine. We're all fine.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, perfect. All right, so in three-man thoughts, let's get into some game previews. Bonus, sort of a best bets show a little bit for these two, because these games tip off tonight. 2 Wednesday games. That's right. We're talking about it right now. This will be totally irrelevant for podcast listeners listening to this show.
These are the takes that are going to age wonderfully or horribly.
Post Wednesday. So yes, we can definitely do the old revisionist history here next week. Tennessee at North Carolina. Huge matchup. This one, the spread's around 2, I believe. I haven't looked at it recently. Matt, going to kick it to you first. My initial thoughts, I liked Tennessee. I don't believe in Hubert Davis. I think Tennessee's physicality is going to be an issue. Your thoughts?
I think both teams are similar in that they're very impressive at their best, but I don't trust consistency. And both annoy me in big game spots. Like UNC, we saw that in the MTE. We saw Tennessee like that against Kansas. Like Kansas gave them every opportunity to come back from that game, and Tennessee still just, their offense can go AWOL at times. So I actually like UNC just simply because it's at home. I know the Cormac Ryan potentially not playing is a pretty big dynamic because he shoots from 35 feet and makes everything. I don't know. We'll see, Jim. I guess I should probably lean Tennessee because I think the point guard matchup favors the Vols, just isolating the Elliot Cadeau. I think this is a big matchup for Elliot Cadeau. I just think it's like going against the Tennessee defense, physicality with Ziegler. I know Ziegler's not at like 100% yet, but I think it's a big matchup for Mr. Cadeau. I love RJ Davis, but I think Cadeau's kind of the key matchup that Tennessee needs to hone in on.
Yeah, Cadeau also has been not basically a non-shooter so far, 53% from the free throw line. He doesn't really want to take jumpers. Everybody goes under screens on him and kind of invites him, like, we dare you to shoot. You take off Cormac Ryan, the spacing starts to get really concerning. They've had some nice success isolating like Harrison Ingram in the post.
Yeah.
Teams have had a problem dealing with that. And when they just finally are like, oh, it's a close game, what if we just give it to Bacot 5 times in a row and nobody can stop his giant booty? Then I think that is a viable tactic as well, but it's not so much against Tennessee. I think the Vols have a great defensive game plan. Like we mentioned on another show, they played Edey and Dickinson the last 2 games. I think they're going to be prepared for a center that kind of dominates the space in the paint. It's just, can they score enough? Is Gainey a player at this level, or is he a bench microwave guy? Can connect, find some efficiency. He did not in that Kansas game, and that really, really killed them. So we'll see. Those complimentary guys just don't, like, Meshack gives them nothing offensively. It's a bummer.
And then Duke at Arkansas. Matthews, Duke Blue Devils. You can almost see the pennant in his upper right-hand shoulder next to the Indiana flag pennant. Duke is up to -4.5. They touched 5 as well. Kempah made this game 3. Not surprising, Matt, to see Duke take money because Duke has looked way better than Arkansas this season, but it's Bud Walton Arena. It's a hype spot. Really tough place to play, especially when the crowd is rocking, the team is motivated. Can your Duke Blue Devils go in and get a win against Arkansas?
Yeah, I don't like how it's being framed as like, so Arkansas have a chance tonight against Duke. It's like, yeah, they absolutely have a chance. Are you serious? Like, Duke was losing to Southern Indiana. Like, Duke sleptwalked through LaSalle for a half. Like, Duke is obviously, I've been probably higher than anyone on Duke, and probably irrationally so. Like, Duke is definitely vulnerable, especially in a hype road spot against a team that can bring physicality and tenacity. That formula worked pretty well with Arizona. Now Arizona is a different tier, no question. And that's just a much better coach team right now. I think Duke wins this game, but it's definitely not going to be like with ease. And if it is, it's going to be more, I think, of an Arkansas takeaway than it is like a, wow, Duke has finally figured it out takeaway for me, Jim.
Yeah, these teams are kind of, they mirror each other a little bit, where they're more versatile at the 5 spot. With, like, if you play Brazil at the 5 and Filipowski at the 5, both teams can kind of switch a little bit and not be bothered by the pick and pop of the opponent. Probably not a lot of foul trouble lurking for either of those guys either, unless there's downhill driving, but probably no Tremont Mark. And he's like been their offense because they do a lot of just like ISO mismatch hunting type stuff. And I don't want to rely too much on Caleb Battle and L. Ellis for that. And that kind of seems like what they're going to have to do. I think you get a much more motivated Duke here, Matthew, than that Southern Indiana game where they were, I don't even think they had their eyes open for the first half. So I do lean Duke here, but yeah, very scared of Arkansas, like biggest home game of the year, Duke coming to town. Just not a crowd I want to trifle with, not a game that I'm betting.
Like, don't you think Brazil can guard Flip? Like, I think it's a pretty good matchup. For Arkansas, you feel pretty good about that, right? Relative to,
I feel both teams. I feel like that's like you're not taking advantage of the issues that the other team has. Really,
I'll lean Arkansas. I'm going to go with Ewing theory. Tremont Mark being out helps Arkansas. It makes the pecking order better in the backcourt. He's not vacuuming shots and taking bad looks.
Oh, come on. He's shooting. He's making them, though.
I agreed with Kai until I watched him at the MTE thing. I was like, yeah. No, I'm with him on this one. However, I kind of like Kai sticking to his guns there. Caleb Mills is the one who I think takes too many shots, and Memphis is better without him. Tremont Mark is the guy who I think Arkansas needs him right now, healthy.
On Friday, big one, UConn at Kansas. Whew, Dolly. Kim Pom makes this Kansas -1, implying, not so much implying, we know, we can see his rankings, that UConn is a better team. Eye test, having watched these two squads, Jim, I tend to agree that UConn is the more complete team, certainly the deeper team right now, and the team I prefer. However, it's Allen Fieldhouse. Like Arkansas, extremely tough place to play. Bill Self rarely loses here, and we know the whistle will be with the Jayhawks.
Yeah, how many more free throws are they going to take than UConn? Oh, Kansas fans are mad. How dare you say that? Boom. Yeah, well, good thing they got Samson Johnson. They can throw two bodies at him. That's rather important. My biggest question is, how does Kansas score in this game? Like, UConn can take away the rim from you. They've got shot blockers. They've got depth. And Kansas, if you're forcing them out on the perimeter, it's not Indiana bad, but they don't really have the shooting. They haven't figured out the secondary playmaking. Like El Marco has sort of come along, but man, I know they came back from the island and had a look at spot the UConn, but Eastern Illinois is a one possession game with like 3 minutes left. That is
Marty Simmons and the boys.
There's some real concern there. I really thought Tennessee would get Kansas in the third place game. That one surprised me a little bit, but I just think this offense is not solved. UConn's a little bit closer to a finished product, especially if Castle plays and gives them that secondary creator that they need. I do lean UConn here, Matthew, but I'm not betting it because I'm scared of the home crowd. I'm a broken record on that.
Yeah, I was skeptical on Newton coming into the year a little bit, just like him being the piece that UConn needs him to be, but he's been that and more for sure. Like, just his individual shot making was what I think I took for granted, which is what Kansas needs. Like, Kansas has to score out of their system and out of the way they play and execute. DeJuan Harris, did he score last night? I don't think I saw him score a point. He's maybe 2 points, 3 points.
His classic deferral mode. He had 1 point.
Right. 1 point. You 1 point. You're in a 2 point game against EIU. Like against Kentucky, you stepped on, made shots. Your team needs you to do that. You didn't do that. McCullough is obviously a triple level machine, but like, I don't think he's like a reliable scorer. And then KJ Adams, again, I think you have to score. He needs help to get his right transition more out of like, dunker spot, screen stuff. I don't know. I think some of what you saw was hangover, but I think some of what you saw in the EIU game was sort of real long-term issues for the Jayhawks, which we've kind of talked about it a little bit. So I'm not scared of fog. Be aware of the fog. No, I'm not scared of it. I'm going to take it. UConn wins this game.
Fill in the blank. Kansas is a top blank team.
10.
Okay. All right.
It's concerning that
10.
Self felt the need to play his top 4 guys over 32 minutes per game against EIU.
He hates his bench. Absolutely hates his bench.
Yeah.
Despises
I do too.
His bench.
He and I have that in common.
Yeah. TBD on that one for me. Saturday, let's not go too in depth here, guys. We have a best bet show on Saturday, but Marquette is playing at Wisconsin. I attended the last matchup last year between these two teams. That was in Miller Park. Wisconsin won that game. It was ugly.
No, it wasn't. That was Wisconsin Stanford.
Sorry, Wisconsin played Stanford. Marquette played someone else.
Not at Miller Park.
Maybe it was Wisconsin Stanford. I'm sorry, my mistake, Phils.
I got to audit the Badger talk on here, Kai. I got to make
Wisconsin
sure.
beats Stanford at their. I swear to God, Marquette played there too. Maybe I'm just wrong. Kansas State. Anyways, so Marquette's going to Wisconsin. They play every year. I'm pretty sure. Oh, Marquette lost to Wisconsin last year. How about that?
Yes.
At Marquette, which was surprising. And Wisconsin, of course, ended up not making the tournament. Tyler Wall got hurt, all that jazz. Gonzaga is playing USC in Vegas. Matt, just quick thoughts on either of these games.
Yeah, I get that Wisconsin's kind of a bad matchup for Marquette, but I just think Marquette's just categorically the better team. It's the one team I took away with real like, wow, that team's even better than I thought from all the MT stuff. I occasionally Cam Jones and those guards are a little too loosey goosey with the ball. They're a little too they're almost moving too fast for their own good. They almost pass up too many good looks to get great looks. But Marquette is just different level than Wisconsin right now. Again, matchup concerns aside, and I think the Gonzaga USC thing is a complete toss up to me, Jim. I remain unsold on both teams, to be honest, but I trust the coaching of Gonzaga more. The front line is a kind of fun inverted matchup there with how we've seen the Gonzaga bigs evolve into differing roles than we thought. USC not all the way healthy still. So yeah, at least I lean Zags there.
I like USC more when they're motivated. I think they'll be very motivated there. And I think the guard size is going to bother Gonzaga's guards a little bit. Like Nemhard's smaller, and if he's guarded by Collier at 6'6", I think that's going to bug him a little bit. I don't think we see Bronny yet. I think he's still got that doctor's appointment coming up. So I think I lean Gonzaga because of coaching, but man, that one scares me. I'm with you though on Marquette. I think they get a little retribution on the road for last year's disappointing loss. Their depth really, really impresses me. Deshaun Jones, Chase Ross combo off the bench is terrifying, and Ben Gold can hit a big shot. And I just don't think Wisconsin's all the way sorted out offensively. I think they'll struggle to score even against Marquette's not great defense. So yeah, I'm running with the Golden Eagles in the Dairyland battle.
Yeah, I'll go Marquette. It's tough to bet against Marquette right now. They look fantastic. USC Gonzaga, I have no idea. I guess I'll go with the coaching there too. Mark Few. If I took Andy Enfield against Mark Few, I think I'd regret it if that lost.
Yeah, it happened in the Elite Eight. They took care of business. Gonzaga did. Drew Timme against Evan Mobley.
They did indeed. All right, guys. Chat out there, Matthew and Jim. Thank you for joining us on our weekly podcast. We're back again next Wednesday for a podcast, but we're also going to be back on Saturday for our best bet show. That's at 10 a.m. Much better Saturday slate this weekend. We'll get to be talking some actual very, very good games instead of the kind of mid-major, low-major sort of style we've been doing the last couple of weeks. So tune in for that. Again, subscribe to the YouTube. Oh, reviews. Sorry, we have 2 reviews real quick that we'll finish up. If you want to stick around, stick around. If you don't, we'll see you next time. Brew City 77, Maui Final Four versus Phoenix Final Four. He says, no question that the Maui has a better Final Four than we're going to see in April, right? Presumptive champs of the 4 best leagues in the country, potentially the 4 1 seeds. Honestly, do you think the NCAA tournament will have as an impressive as a Final Four of a Final Four? What brings up the real question? Best Final Four ever. Was it 2008 with the 4 1 seeds or another? Well, the 4 1 seeds is pretty good, but guys, the one we went to,
that was the best.
Was pretty darn good. Yeah,
that was the best.
Coach K last year at Duke.
Storyline wise, it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best 4 teams.
North Carolina as the plucky 8 seed, and you had, of course, Kansas, who is Kansas. 4 blue bloods. And it was in New Orleans, Jim. That's my favorite Final Four so far.
I'm with Kai. Sorry, storylines, that's the right answer. You're right, Jim. The 4 best teams, Jim, the one I think we went to is up there, honestly.
Yeah, 2015. I mean, Michigan State was a reject in that one. It should have been Texas Tech,
Final
Arizona,
3+1. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Arizona or like maybe Gonzaga that year, 15. But yeah, the 4 1 seeds is probably the right answer there because, hey, they were 4 awesome teams all year. But I think he's right. I think the Maui Final Four will be better because there's just so many mines you can run into in 4 games trying to get to the Final Four that you'll end up with an 8 seed plucky underdog instead of 4 elite teams like we had in Maui. So anybody that got to go there enjoyed really just a feast of delicious basketball.
Indeed. Last review, then we'll sign off. Steph E23 says best college basketball pod. Nice. All right. Please fix the lineups this year for our Tigers, referring to Mizzou. How does Dennis Gates figure this out? MIC. Well, first of all, ZOU. Second of all, Jim, I think he started to figure out a little bit. Played primarily 8 guys against Pitt. You saw them, I think 12 guys got minutes, but it was mainly 8. filing down the rotation. He's getting it figured out. I have faith in Dennis, Jim, that he's going to figure it out.
Yeah, I guess it's the right 8 because of how they've played so far. My one question is if Tanjay gets fully healthy, can they thread him back in there? Because I think he is a legit good player and a perfect fit for the scheme, but he just did not look right when he did play, and now he's back to getting DNPs. We'll see if they figure that out. But yeah, like Pierce, haven't seen enough. Butler's a little thin. Kurt Lewis, JUCO guy that needs a year, like Sean East, look at him. Just helps to have more time for those guys. So I think he's got the right 8 figured out, and then maybe you add in Tanjay, and hey, they looked really good at Pitt. There's potential.
Connor Vanover, impact player, 20 minutes of just two-way brilliance, continuing to climb up the.
Don't say brilliance.
He was solid. He was rock solid.
He is an impact player.
In that matchup too, you needed him. That was you won't see a bigger front line all year. You won't see him. You won't
I said he was
all year.
competent. He was not brilliant. You can't call him brilliant.
6 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 2.
Oh yeah, he missed
both
his threes. That's right.
No fouls.
I thought he was good.
Great job, Connor. Okay, now we're signing off. See you guys next week or Saturday, whichever you prefer.